Hello, my beautiful people. I know I have been building up the suspense for this second video on dating tips. But before we get started, because you know I like to add other things before I go into my lessons sometimes, other than I'm going to recap, is that so my hair that I don't even know why I do this dumb shit because this is like prom hair to me and I'm always having to fix it. But anyway, it's funny because I do like the look of it, but I feel like it's goddamn getting ready for prom. So I spent a few minutes before I jumped on rearranging it again, if you haven't seen me do that before. Okay, so welcome to Dating Tips 2. I'm going to recap just a little bit what we talked about last time, which was basically about perception and choice. I'm holding my hand warmer pandas here that I love that really do work for about like 3 or 4 hours. I think this one is dead now. So if you see me doing this, that's what I'm doing. Okay, yeah, that one's dead. So to recap, it was about perception and choice and what you truly want. But I wanted to give you an idea of my background. That's why I shared that information, that I am by no means a dating expert, but what I do know is that friendship is a huge part of the foundation of a restaurant, of a relationship, if you want it to last on any sort of level. And this goes with platonic people, okay, too. So I know that whole talk, I'm going to talk a little bit about here, why that sounds so confusing and why I keep bringing that up is because we can have many loving, true love relationships with others. And this is why I was so confused later in life. Because unless you have, like people back in the day, again, if you're going to have kids with somebody, they wanted a certain structure there. And again, I haven't researched enough to say, oh, that was specifically Christian, even though some people will say, yes, that was Christian structure and society using it as a form of control or whatever it is, right? Okay, so I explained that in video 1. What I want to say before I get into this part of this video is that I am really shocked that I can be so passionate about sharing this part of my life because I rejected myself for so long. This is such a sensitive subject and actually very sad. I'm very sad that I just felt this way for so long. So it's very interesting to me to be able to talk about this so passionately and wanting to share with you because I know that part of my story is going to resonate with a lot of people, parts of my story. That's why storytelling is so important. You feel like you're walking the path by yourself, experiencing these things when a lot of other people have experienced the same, okay? Just talked about this again with my friend Melissa about her journey and how she was not always like this till about like 24. I feel like mine took till about 35 and it was still residual stuff in there till almost 40. Okay, so let's get right to it. I mentioned the cultural conditionings, asking you what you truly want, and I'm going to ask you more in this episode with the coaching thing, and I always try and make an attempt to be brief, but the part of understanding myself is sometimes it can't be, and there needs to be explanation behind, because that's how I got to the points of whatever I was doing in personal growth, okay? So please be patient with me. I'm not trying to make these sorts of episodes 10 minutes. It's just I know there's more effective ways to get to the point, and that's why I had to re-record this one again because I was like, too much information. Okay, so out the gate, you know that some sort of efforting is going to have to be involved, right? In these choices. Now, moving forward, you've decided you want to do this. But I also want you to keep in mind, with this being said, this is still the questions on, do you value being single? What do you appreciate about it? Those sorts of questions, because there is something called being happily single, right? Okay, so we are just going to take this into account. Maybe after listening to all of this and you're just like, fuck, too much work. But maybe when you find the right person, you will be willing to. And it's not always going to be fun times, especially if they're calling you on your shit. Okay, so I just want you to think about that part, is that understanding that there is something called happily single, which we don't hear of often. Because sometimes people will even say, oh, we got a divorce, and the immediate reaction might be, oh, I'm sorry. It's like sometimes it's a good thing, right? So again, that's a cultural, just comes out of people's mouth. Just the same thing of the I'm sorry for your loss, okay? Just things that just come out, which there are other things to say. Okay, to show compassion and or empathy. So we talked about, I want to just back up here to the happily single thing. When I mentioned before that society has led us to believe that if you are single, you suck. There must be something wrong with you. I know that I'm not the only one who thinks that, okay? So wanted to bring up that. Okay, we talked about my views and perception as a teenager and who I have become now and being with the same person for like going into 23 years. Okay, my husband. So a very challenging personality, but has made me realize a whole lot of things while he, oh my God, I haven't figured out how to turn off that thing. You're just gonna have to deal with it, okay, people? Balloons were just going off. Dealing with a difficult personality, but also him being one of my greatest teachers, if not one of the most important ones, is through the ups and downs, even things that really aren't that crazy or serious or anything like that. I feel like it's just typical about around being somebody, being with and around somebody a lot. And I said in my last video, it may have come across as I said he's around all the time. I just meant he's home every day. He travels and stuff like that, but pretty much, around the same time every day. And good thing we have a garage, right? So being able to manage when you still are living with somebody, because then there are some relationships, right? I've talked about military, first responder, high stress careers, you're gone all the time. And maybe you're not with each other till you end up getting retired. And then you realize you don't really like each other very much. So there's all of that sort of business. Okay, so what I've learned up until this point and what I would recommend anybody who wants to move forward in some sort of long time relationship, kid or not. Okay, so all the different reasons that people get married that I realized as an adult that not everybody marries for love. I think I was pretty shocked to find that out. I think just because of the big screen and the fantastical ideas of everything, that's the only way that I can describe is why I thought that. And it's pretty rare. Most of the people in my adult life that I've met, if you want to say a true love or their level of commitment, like I don't even know, under 5 people. I can't even tell you, maybe not even that many. Okay, so what does that say to you? Right? Just different strokes for different folks. I think it's all a risk and you don't know what can happen because things can be going good for a while or what you say like good and healthy or whatever. People don't speak up about their issues or they speak up, things change, go back to the old ways. People, maybe it's some sort of health problem or mental illness or something. Okay. So it's not necessarily the reason that they break up also is for one reason. Oh, they must have broke up because they just couldn't work it out. Well, that could be a reason, but there's some other factors. You know what I mean? And maybe they tried to work it out, right? So we just need to just be open and not judge and just, if you know this is something you want and you've realized the reasons and we looked at the core of what you want, we're setting it off at least on a good foot. So, mentioning about this with the soul contracts with people, I'm going to talk about this in the soul's journey. And the reason that it's really good to just know this on a very basic level is that if you look at life as lessons, right? We come in here and these different people come into our lives and you look at it as each one is going to teach you something. But that's the perspective, right? So sometimes people are just meant to have kids with the person, right? And move on. So certain lessons have to be learned in their context. Some of them, people don't learn it. They go on to another relationship and continue their same patterns. Okay, so the contracts that we have, just understand that. Okay, so it could be even the dating thing. So I guess dating is supposed to be where you find out kind of what you want, but I already knew what I wanted, so that's why uh, I didn't do much of that, and I didn't have to do much of that. But if I were to go back and rewind, there are some things that I would do, right? I am a different person. I look at, we're going to say men because I'm attracted to men. I mean, I'm attracted to both because women have physical bodies and things like that. Obviously, we already know this story about me and being hypnotized by beauty, but I'm going to focus on this part of the man. Okay, so giving me my worth, this whole thing of I must be worth something. That was my mindset back then. Okay, where now I just look at it differently and I feel my worth more, and my inner character is more important, right? That's a recap from the first one. Okay, so if I was going to do any sort of approaching, and I don't know that I would because my nerves would be a wreck, and especially anybody in a uniform, um, I would be a wreck. So I would have to do some sort of breathing techniques or something like that to even think about approaching somebody, even knowing what I know and what I would do. That's funny. That's funny to me, right? Okay, so we are gonna go. I'm pulling out my wonderful board here. Hold on one second. I was trying to flip it so it wouldn't be that difficult, and I ended up still almost knocking it over. So the reason that I said that I didn't want to use my last video is because I did not keep it brief, and I put a lot of different stories in there, which I may still add at the end, but let's get straight to it, and then I will add as we go, and then I will see. Okay? So we talked about awareness. Yeah, you can zoom in if needed. Okay, awareness. So I want you to really be serious, people. Get out your piece of paper and get to this. Rewind it or whatever if you just want to run through it right now and scan. Okay, if it's worth your time putting in the work. Your reasons for wanting a 24/7. If you want a 24/7, okay? So why do you want this? If you said, oh, I just want to be loved or this or that, whatever, bullshit, just joking, refer to the book, The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. There's a chapter called The Divine Huntress, and I talk about it. If I mess that up I think that's what it's called, The Divine Huntress. I read it. I think it's on my list with book excerpts because that explains it, I think, really well if you're trying to understand what I am talking about, okay, in terms of chasing love or the reasons that you want it, right? Because I think, again, people talk about the worth thing, but you don't understand it yet when you're not there yet. Is it truly for you? Right? Because I said happily single does exist. It also allows you, yes, you can have this in a relationship and the freedoms, but it's not for everybody. Not a lot of people, want to release control when you're in a relationship don't want to share you, right? So this is some people, a lot of people, okay, especially alpha males. So, and that's going back to love concepts in society, okay? So that is not being unconditionally loving, people. So I also want you, so you've decided, right, this is truly for you, or if you want to try it out, you want to know what the hell I'm talking about, right? So you do want a life partner. I love all the aspects of the teamwork and things like that, but that's why it's confusing because you can do this not married, people. You can do this single. Like, there's things you can do, so you got to, assess, okay? The lifestyle, what does this look like? I think I just touched on it a little bit in the last episode. This is important because people don't look at it. It's almost like recommending for your child's career. Like, I ask those questions. Do you want to be outside? Do you want to be sitting or standing a lot? Do you want to do X, Y, Z? Do you want to work with people? Do you want to blah, 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 right? This is the forward thinking ahead. So I want you to think, don't look, if you want to compare on the level of other relationships, what lifestyle you like. Hey, I like that about them. I like that about them. Like, what can I do to create for myself in my own relationship? So for me, which I never knew was that important, I think I knew it, but I didn't know how important it was. My freedom, and I guess to be challenged. But also with that, I need the balance in other aspects of my life. Okay? And okay, so what does that lifestyle look like? How you want to spend it? It's everything down to the T, you know, how your home life wants to look like. Like, say you had a plan, you're like, well, I'd like to eat at the dinner table, all of us together without the TV on and the phones on, and I would like to have that every night. Like, it's not always going to happen like that. And are you okay with it not happening like that? Or, you know, maybe you can set up another commitment where it's X amount of time per week. You probably have to a little bit do some scheduling around with your significant schedule, right? I've talked about this, the military, first responders, doctors, nurses, all these sorts of careers where the hours are up and down, okay? Sometimes these situations, people aren't seeing each other for months. Um, you know, so think about these things and who you're picking. This is going to go on your list, which we are getting to next. Okay, so look at the lifestyle. Okay, I think I'm done with those notes here. I have enough that I can run with. Okay, so right, number 2 step. Okay, do this first. Do this first. Sit on this. This might be long, a paragraph or something. We don't even know. I want you to be very specific because this is in your mind what you're going to do to create the energy, right? And the vibration when you speak, what you are looking for, okay? And what you're willing to compromise on and not. 2, write down the specifics to the T, like I've said before. I feel like if the person meets 3 things on the list, at least you're doing good. Okay, so everything is freedom a part of it, the character traits that you want, and I'm gonna say it out loud because this is a factor and I ain't scared. Sex. On the list, the level of importance. Not everybody talks about this. I don't know. There's like sex coaches and stuff like that out there, but I'm just talking about an average relationship is that this is very important to a lot of people, sometimes number 1. So what I want to know is, and you to ask yourself, I'm going to say what if. I'm going to say what if, okay, people, but what if or when. I don't want to say what if because I still believe it's when. When the sex relationship either slows or stops or ebbs and flows, right? You started off hot and heavy, now it's changed, whatever it is. You didn't predict that because you kind of thought it would stay the same all the time, right? Oh, we've got chemistry. And then some people are also, with that being said, like you hear that in people parts of their story, like, oh, the chemistry is all great, but there's like another area that's not so great, you know? So of course things aren't going to be perfect, but if you know out the gate that number 1, sex has to be in there, when something changes, what's the game plan? What are you going to do? And that is being honest with yourself, people. Whatever you want to say is being superficial or whatever the reason is, because a lot of people realize, I would say male and females down the road, like what's really important to them, you know, and maybe they thought that was important to them, but things change. And maybe they're like, fuck, I didn't really think about it that much. I just wanted that, you know, at that time in my life. Go talk to people down the road older than you, and you will hear the stories. 3rd step in all of this, okay, this is also going to take you some time too, right? To write down everything, as much detail as you can. I'm telling you, to the T. Even if you want physically attractive to you, like just write that down, okay? Go slow. That's one of the things in culture, people like to act impulsively, right? So, which is why plastic surgery and those different sorts of things appeal to a lot of people, right? So, quick fix. I understand this. So, going slow, I understand this. And I really think it's my dad who has taught me or shown me how to not be impulsive in certain decision-making skills. Even with shopping, I kind of feel like I would still be impulsive, and, finally just kind of am learning, even though he always said, "You don't need it, you want it." I still would be like, "Well, I need another water bottle. I need another organizer, like, in a different color." Like, and all it ends up being is cluttered because I keep feeling like this is the one. This is the one what? All that it needs to be is clear and aesthetically appealing, and then I'm fine. It's like I'm enjoying I'm enjoying my drink. Now this one sucks. Oh, you like my firefighter thing on here? And my stickers. So when I started this, I was like, I thought that I was the only one who stickered my shit. Now everybody here in Sacramento is doing it, so I don't even want to. Kind of like the tattoo thing. I have 2 of them, and I don't like want to get more just to rebel, because you know I'm a rebel like that. Anything, I don't want to conform, which is also why everything that I do and people's solutions, I'm like, I just end up finding something else because maybe those things didn't work for me. So yes, this thing, it does fit in the car holder thing, but then there's no, like, the straw, and there's no strap, and I can't see it. Okay, so anyway, not needing more things. Going slow, not being impulsive. Maybe you need to develop a way, people, because you found somebody and you're really, really attracted to them initially, which I understand. That should actually be a sign to run, maybe. But no, you can have both. You just need to give it time, because that's when people banging so soon, and you realize you didn't like them very much. And that is also interesting to me to hear from other people. I have heard somebody specifically, dude, who had said, if you didn't put out by date 3, like, it's over, you're done. I'm like, oh my God. So some people, that's what it is, okay? Being impulsive. So go slow. Okay, getting into the juiciness of the tips. Hey, this is what's missing in my notes. Okay, I got to go back to this because my list was really good. Okay, there's going to be some certain things that I can remember, and then there's going to be some stuff that's not, and then I'm going to go back and have to re-record again because I forgot something. So dumb. Okay, well, one of those lists that I was saying first and foremost, when I look back at, God, where is it? Okay, so when you're thinking about approaching somebody, of course, that I'm going to say is that, um, start with, if it's somebody out there that you see regularly, right? Whether you drink coffee or you have a restaurant or maybe a bar, right there. Don't judge. There might be somebody good in there, because I go even though I'm not a big drinker, because I love to communicate. I love to sit with the locals and have good conversation. Okay, so there's a place by myself, by my house, that I love. Okay, so if you were to use that context of that situation, it could be either being funny, right, in yourself. Ask a question. Not necessarily giving a compliment, because I think that the compliment, unless it's really unique, I'm just gonna make fun. I would probably make fun of it, like, "Dude, that's such a pickup line," or whatever it is, or "Are you for real?" or something like that. And I haven't had too many of those. I have had that, and right now I can't think of what they'd say, but people have tried to impress me with their cars, their business card, and like the car does not impress me, because unless you have like a muscle car or maybe a lifted truck or something like that. Maybe a Harley, just that but I'd have to have something to say about it, which I don't. I'm just saying that a typical kind of a car wouldn't impress me. Would it impress me to even talk further? It's always been something really lame. Lame in my eyes, like, just, I don't know. I don't know. Let's not go into there. Okay, so being funny or talking shit or something like that, and frequenting a place that you like a lot, and just engaging in conversation, right? Developing a friendship, you keep going back to these places, right? Okay, so if you need some speak up skills stuff, I can help you with that too. But like I said, just being selfish, being yourself, making a joke, you know? Um, Okay, so online, while I did that very temporarily talking to people, a lot of people have said like the images are way airbrushed. Like the people never look like what their picture looks online. So while they may be being honest with their likes and whatever interests in there, I feel like that's not that you'd have to weed through a lot. Okay. I wonder what happened. Wasn't there Friendster or something like that? I know back then there was MySpace, but there was something like that back in the day because there's not anything that I know of right now. Um, okay, so this is the random shit. Okay, suggesting to go do things like on both of your ends that your interest areas, but like you can see how the person reacts to whatever it is that you're bringing up and how open they are. I feel like you can find out initially how open somebody is by just trying different things, including food. It could be cultural food, it could be music, it could be whatever. Now, of course, if you already met them in the interest area, that's all good, but not everybody does. I know the places that I train fighting wise, people aren't there to hook up, like they're focused on it. And I think also they use a bit of discernment too, because once you develop something there, it's kind of like just going to the regular gym. It makes it awkward if like you break up or whatever it is in like working out, so working out together and sorts of things like that. So again, a slow process of friendship. So I definitely would recommend an interest area, and that sounds really simple, but I'm trying to think of different ways too that people, when you're not making time to meet people, like what you can do. I haven't used it too much, but meetup.com has a lot of group interests in there. So if you just want to expand your mind to trying something different, but there you can really hone in. Again, though, I mean, you just have to stay positive. There will be somebody cool there. You have to make the effort in putting this out there, and that might be an easier start than again trying to go coffee shop, coffee, tea. I won't be specific because there's like so many different ones, but depending on where you live, I think that's just part of our lifestyle now and getting used to, do we really want a $7 coffee? Which there are places that have them for less. Okay, so frequenting the places that you go quite often. Um, Having those conversations in the beginning, again, I know that sounds really stupid, but um, looking at like belief systems, moral codes, principles of living, that just goes with asking people about themselves. So, I mean, there's people though that go to church, forever since the beginnings and don't follow that in any sort of way. So they're just doing it for the show, right? So you really just have to be willing to get to know somebody, look at their lifestyle, all those sorts of things, people. Like I said, look at everything. That is like, look at the family. Like, sometimes the family structure or whatever of the person you're looking at maybe is, I feel like we all have dysfunction, but I just want you to look at everything. Like, is it something that you can fit into? Is it something that maybe is going to require, for example, say somebody's a mama's boy, how much are they going to be on your side if something happens? Like, there's all those dynamics and relationships you don't really think about, right? The in-laws. So look at everything. Okay, this is where they spend their money, where they spend their time. What kind of interests? Do you want somebody that has a lot of interests or passions? Or I know that when I was talking to people, this was again back in the day, there was a lot of, I work for the state and go to the gym. I'm sorry, like that's not, I don't want to say it's not exciting. It's just there's no bonding on that. And on top of that, they didn't really talk about anything. Okay, so for you specifically, like what type of personality do you need or you feel that you need? Do you want somebody who's interested in growing themselves? What do you want? These are the core roots of the things, while things may change down the road that you're looking at. And this is, I know, making it very complicated and seems like work, but again, this is like researching people, interviewing them. like in a way, right? Like a job. Like I'm going to interview these people now moving forward in life to see if I want to work there, right? I am not that desperate to just grab any job. So the personal story I wanted to give in this is the looking at the family, looking at everything. Is that since my dad and my stepdad, so he's my mom's remarried husband, she was beautiful physically, right? Very beautiful. I almost could say she was like an off the chart kind of beautiful, but inside, there were things about her and her qualities that I didn't like and that I saw. She did have personality disorders, but I think that it became more apparent as she got older. And not only that, when she came to America. And I'm going to put this in here because this is what I think that American culture can do to somebody, meaning becoming greedy. This can probably, yes, I know happen in other cultures, but I've seen this now with the two of my dad's wives. Either becoming greedy, making them very angry, different things. So the example is my dad met my mom, I think she was 19. And he was just a little few years older. And he met her in Bangkok, in Thailand, during the army. I think during that time, I could be messed up, but the point is that he was traveling. So when he met her and took her home for the first time that night from the discotheque, the dance, what did he call it? He didn't call it dance hall. That's what Jamaicans call it. I think that's when I first heard that word, dance hall. So I don't know what he called it. So it made me laugh. So when he took her home, and I don't know the time period of when they got married, but basically, so she was 19. He said that he went over to her house or whatever she was staying, and there were 3 kids there that he would later find out were hers. So by 19, she had 3 kids. So there were 3 kids that he didn't know about, and I don't know when he ended up finding out about them. I didn't meet them, I don't think, until that they were in their 20s. So right now they range from like 56 to 52, and my sister speaks very little English. So the point of that story is basically when she came here to Sacramento, she was playing cards, gambling with the neighbors, and they were basically saying how much money that you could get when you divorce your husband. So she started making up all these different sorts of lies. Cops showed up. This is another thing, because I never knew why my dad hated her so much, is that the cop showed up and he had said all the lies that she made about him, and that he would have killed her if he would have gotten away with it. I'm laughing, but like, it is another example of, you never know the extreme that people go to, especially when somebody's lying to you. But not only that if he could have gotten away with it, but then there was nobody to take care of myself and my brother. So my brother, who is 8 years older than me, we had the same parents. Okay, the other one's different baby daddy. So that is just an example, people, of like not doing your research, and you might say, well, that's his fucking fault. But and he would agree. So, but I do think the coming here and the things that ended up happening are a result of culture. Okay, I know that he said that she was a nice person, and probably he would consider her like his first love. So they divorced when I was 12. And so the long story of that short, after she met my stepdad, and I could go into the deep stories of that, but I'm not going to. She developed more mental illness, and also as a result, I think and know that that is also a result of being isolated. So this is the point that I would tell you, is that these lifestyles, so he was in the Air Force for a really long time. I think that's what saved him being gone a long time, or most of the time, but also, like, again, the ebb and flow of relationships and different things you can't predict are going to happen. And since she was isolated and became more mentally ill with the death of my He would be my nephew in the rice paddies, and then having her first child. Now I'm getting sidetracked. These are the things that affected her mental health. So my stepdad, I don't think he knew a lot as well about my mom and background. I know that he found out later in life when she shared with him and all of her stories from her upbringing. I talk about a little bit in one of my other videos that you can find out more, but that's not what this is about. It's basically about looking at the entire, getting to know somebody. That's what it's called, getting to know somebody. And when people are doing things, for example, like getting close really fast and banging, it just immediately, maybe you become a couple like that just from doing that. And things fall away. There's not a lot of getting to know because you're just spending time together. Maybe not really talking. Like there's a lot of couples who don't talk about these deep sorts of things, and they just do their fun things and activities together. And I think all of us can benefit from coaching/counseling, just to have another perspective. And also when kids come into the picture in parenting, like, are these people that you're picking in alignment, if that's something that you want to do, like with parenting? Now this is really opening another door that can cause conflict. Okay, so looking at everything, looking at how they spend their money, looking at the overall picture, I know a lot of this can sound simple, and you may even just be at the point, like, I just want to find somebody. If you don't do this, people, like, this is how you create what you want. And I think the most important thing is, like, your lifestyle and your freedoms, and you have the choice. And a lot of people still don't realize they have a choice. And they get in these situations. I'm going to do the show on, I called it like, I got you, or something like that, right? No judgment, I got you, because I understand and have heard enough stories from other people, okay? So about their choices. And so I'm saying it's their choice, but maybe it is their choice. They thought it was a good choice, okay? That's why there's no judgment. I'm just going to help them kind of alleviate, like, what to do in these situations if they don't want to get a divorce, or it's not an option. They don't want to do that. They care about the person. They don't want to divorce them. But how are they going to deal with a personality like my mom? Be gone all the time, talk less, I guess. And then for the people that don't want to give half. This is just very real and being honest, people. This is what people tell me. So all of this, I know it was a lot, but I really wanted to share with you the example with my dad, because that was a fool. No, I was a fool. The fact that how I was hypnotized by physical beauty in my story with my friends growing up. But that was the way he had to learn. And he actually just kept picking, physically beautiful women that maybe were not a good match for him, right? And I think he would have definitely stayed with the number 2, my Filipino one that raised me, if there had not been interference and challenges with mental illness in the family. So that's, again, being impulsive, maybe being driven by sex, we'll say, right? Because he's a different person now, or he was a different person back then, including everything that he learned about the government after he was in the Vietnam War. And he has plenty of stuff to say about when he came back and researched. So this is about researching, going slow, doing all of these things to find out what you want. And I am a person that can help share with you how to get there. And that it starts with friendship. Maybe it's developing a system. Like, you already know, okay, I'm really, like, when I go and I seriously pick physically attractive people. Well, maybe that's like your go-to, right? Because you want to be attracted to the person, obviously. But let's just say that is your weakness, and being alone with them. You need to develop a plan. Perhaps just making yourself really busy with your job and your passions and things like that initially, and doing a 2 to 3 time a week kind of a visit. Think maybe 2 times, right? 2 times, maybe one day, 1 date a week, but share this with them. It's not like I don't like you. It's because of X, Y, Z. I think that's being really mature to say that. But that's again being honest with yourself, people. Okay. So if you already know you have that pattern, like there's definitely things to do, and you are probably going to say it's hard or it's difficult or whatever it is, or you're like, I'm just going to date other people. Whatever you need to do, because that's the period of time of just assessing, and then you can decide on your own and or with this person, like, do you want to get serious? And you guys have those like mature conversations, in the beginning that can be embarrassing, which could even just be like, so when do you think, like, when's a good time to get more physical or whatever it is beyond kissing? Like, that's funny. Like, that would be funny for somebody to ask me, because also, if they weren't taking initiative initially, or they were only like, if they didn't say anything and they were only talking to me once a week, I'd be like, is he interested or not? Like, if that's what I was looking for. Do you know what I mean? Like, dude's not even acting like he likes me. And there aren't a whole lot of guys who have, with that personality, like, have ever shown that they liked me. So I didn't really know. So I wouldn't know. Just a little bit of that in there. I had to put in that in there. So who cares? Just have that conversation in the beginning. It doesn't have to be embarrassing. I just think it's funny. Because we just assume, like, oh, they tried to kiss me or this, whatever. They must be like physically attracted to me or whatever we're thinking. I don't know, mental fuckery that I've put myself through. And like I said, I didn't do tons of dating, but if I thought somebody was interested in me romantically, I would be thinking those sorts of things. Like, this isn't really their focus. Maybe they're not really into me, when I could have just asked the goddamn question. So, what are you like looking for? I always cracked up when people would be like, guys would be like, that's one of the worst questions we can be asked, is where is this going? Because some of them, there is no plan. Remember, again, if they're happily single, they like to talk to different types of people. They live to live their own life. They have like to have the freedoms. You never know what's going on in somebody's head. And yes, they could lie, but you will know with time, people and their actions, how interested they are, So none of us should be chasing anybody. When we feel our worth, we won't even have thought to it. So to close these videos, I really thought that I was going to end with some of my beautiful wordings, which I do on some of my shows. I do an intro and a closing. I don't want to add more and more deeper thinking to them. So that's why I haven't done that, because I really would love to add that, but I'm not going to. So today, recap. Please work on, even if you just do number 1, okay? Which was, we already talked about the awareness. Hopefully you had already done that from the last visit, but is it truly for you? And what does the lifestyle look like? Even if you just work on that part today, let it sit, marinate for a few days, add to it. Writing down the traits, going over that, right? What are the most important things to you, and is freedom one of them? There's different aspects that we could talk about in what freedom means to you. Do you want to be able to go out and, pretty much live your own life? You have this significant, yes, you want that, but you also want to be able to make your own decisions and not being told what to do or somebody controlling you. Do you want somebody who allows you to be yourself, who accepts you in whatever the case is, right? Going slow and being positive. And I forgot the most important thing. Oh my God, I forgot this at 44 minutes in. Step 1 of the approaching people, okay? Don't shoot yourself down before you've started. That is so dumb to me, because I did that. It's like you go through these things in your mind of, they're not going to be attracted to me. That's like number 1. right? They're not going to be attracted to you. And then there's other things that people do. I look at it as rejecting myself because I hadn't built the wealth, built the worth. I don't make enough money. They're out of my league. I don't have anything to offer. They're out of my tribe, maybe, like again with the league thing, but literally they're just somebody you would totally not pick. Like, what happened to that? Expanding your mind, people. Like, I just want to say the opposites attract. Like, what happens if you explore and out? Like, what's the best that could happen, right? Maybe another thing, you shoot yourself down. I'm too young. I'm too old. Right? So these are just the examples of just the different things we say to ourselves, the negative self-talk, and then all these fears that you created in your mind that were false. So moving forward, after you work on these things and you get out there, do not, I command you, do not shoot yourself down first. Always think positive. Okay, because there are, yes, lots of fish in the sea. It is rare to find down to earth, spiritual people, people that have morals, and really, again, your level of importance. Yes, you could find a man or a woman, your significant, that's just a nice, good person. Is that going to be enough for you? You probably should look into, which would be a good idea, is color personality tests, and there's all these different tests out there. I also recommend too, as a couple, you know, to do it together, an emotional needs questionnaire. They do have those out there. But the color personality thing is, again, you might not even know this about yourself, but you might actually need a certain type of personality in order to thrive. Like I said, if they're a person who works for the state and goes to the gym, like that might not be enough for you. And that wasn't enough for me. So think about these things. Maybe of all the people you've already dated, that might also be another good idea so that you can actually pick and choose. That's why we talked about, I'm just trying to filter and help you pick more wisely and be more discerning, because you already have in your mind what you're looking for. And so, do you want somebody with certain principles as you, a moral code? How's their, lifestyle look to you? And other things now I'm going to start to be redundant and repetitive, and I don't want to do that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, dating tips number 2. And there's always more things to talk about, but I hope this provided some value to you. And I always say with any of my material, like, take what resonates with you and dismiss the rest. If I'm just trying to help you, again, narrow in on some things and what I have learned in the whole friendship sort of situation first. And again, you pick and choose. I hope this helped you. And just be looking forward to my upcoming videos on more of this human behavior, relationships talk, and whatever else I come up with in my vault, where there's always something humorous. Okay, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.